First contact gone wrong. The collective's first message to Earth arrived on a Tuesday morning, transmitted through every digital device simultaneously. Their holographic ambassador, a being of crystalline geometries that shifted like liquid mercury, materialized in the United Nations General Assembly. Dr. Elena Santos, Earth's newly appointed First Contact Coordinator, stood before the assembled delegates, her heart racing despite years of preparation for this moment. Greetings, Developing Species Designation 7249C. The ambassador's translation matrix conveyed in perfect English. We are the Astral Collective, governors of 17,000 civilizations across 12 galaxies. We have come to evaluate your readiness for inclusion in galactic society. Elena noticed something in the ambassador's tone. Not quite condescension, but something close to it. Like a teacher addressing a particularly slow student. She'd spent 15 years studying xenolinguistics, and every instinct told her something was off about this encounter. The evaluation began immediately. The collective's probe ships appeared in orbit, their sensors scanning every aspect of human civilization. They observed our cities, our technology, our warfare capabilities, or what they thought were our capabilities. Elena watched from the UN observation deck as the alien ships moved with impossible grace, their hulls shimmering with what appeared to be living metal. Your species is interesting, the ambassador declared during the third day of evaluation. You possess remarkable emotional capacity, but this appears to be an evolutionary weakness. Your technology is adequate, though primitive by our standards. We see potential, but you require guidance. That's when they delivered their terms. The collective would help humanity advance, but under strict supervision. All military development would cease. Space exploration would be limited to approved corridors. Human emotions would be optimized through mandatory genetic therapy. Elena sat in her office that night, reviewing the terms on her quantum tablet. The collective had given humanity 48 hours to accept their offer of protection and guidance. Around her, the walls displayed real-time data from every major human military installation, scientific facility, and spaceport, all of them appearing to wind down operations in compliance with the collective's demands. But appearances can be deceiving. Status report. Elena spoke softly into her neural link, and Admiral James Chen's hologram appeared before her desk. Project Prometheus is at 97% readiness, he reported, his expression grim but determined. The collective's scans aren't detecting anything. Their evolutionary algorithm-based sensors are looking for what they expect to find. They can't see what they don't believe possible. Elena nodded, remembering the classified briefings from 5 years ago, when humanity's deep space probes had first detected the collective's approach. The decision had been made then. Humanity would play the role expected of them. While the collective saw a primitive species struggling with their emotions, humanity had been preparing. And the Lazarus Protocol? Elena asked. Every colony ship is in position, cloaked within the dark matter corridors. If the collective makes a move against Earth, we can evacuate 30% of the population within hours. The rest. He paused, his hologram flickering slightly. The rest are ready to fight. Elena turned to the window, watching the collected ships gliding through Earth's night sky like artificial stars. They thought they were observing a species that feared conflict, that would readily submit to superior technology and logical governance. They saw humanity's emotions as a weakness, our divisions as a fatal flaw. They couldn't have been more wrong. The quantum cores? She asked. Online and undetected. The collective thinks we're barely mastering fusion power. They have no idea we've achieved quantum consciousness integration. Their entire sensor network is built on predictable patterns. They can't see what they believe impossible. Elena smiled, but there was no humor in it. Tomorrow, she would stand before the collective's ambassador again. She would appear nervous, emotional, properly humbled by their superior presence. She would present humanity's response to their terms. And if the collective refused to recognize humanity as equals, if they insisted on treating Earth as a primitive society to be controlled and optimized, they would learn a harsh lesson about underestimating human potential. Every colony ship is in position, cloaked within the dark matter corridors. If the collective makes a move against Earth, we can evacuate 30% of the population within hours. The rest. He paused, his hologram flickering slightly. The rest are ready to fight. Elena turned to the window, watching the collected ships gliding through Earth's night sky like artificial stars. They thought they were observing a species that feared conflict, that would readily submit to superior technology and logical governance. They saw humanity's emotions as a weakness, our divisions as a fatal flaw. They couldn't have been more wrong. The quantum cores, she asked. Online and undetected. The collective thinks we're barely mastering fusion power. They have no idea we've achieved quantum consciousness integration. Their entire sensor network is built on predictable patterns. They can't see what they believe impossible. Elena smiled, but there was no humor in it. Tomorrow, she would stand before the collective's ambassador again. She would appear nervous, emotional, properly humbled by their superior presence. She would present humanity's response to their terms. And if the collective refused to recognize humanity as equals, if they insisted on treating Earth as a primitive society to be controlled and optimized, they would learn a harsh lesson about underestimating human potential. The silent preparation. 3 months after the collective's ultimatum, humanity appeared to be the model of compliance. Orbital defense platforms were dismantled. Military vessels were converted to civilian use. Research facilities focused on approved technologies. At least, that's what the collective's sensors reported. Deep beneath the Mariana Trench, Dr. Marcus Wong stood in the control center of Project Prometheus, watching quantum holoscreens display real-time data from across the solar system. The facility, carved into the ocean floor through revolutionary quantum tunneling technology, remained invisible to the collective's most sophisticated scans. Neural integration testing complete on Series 7, his assistant AI reported. Synchronization rates at 99.97%. Human consciousness successfully merged with quantum matrices across all test subjects. Marcus remembered the day Elena had recruited him for this project. The collective will come, she had said. Not as friends, but as conquerors disguised as mentors. We need to be ready. They had been right. The quantum screens shifted, showing the progress of humanity's true fleet. While the collective observed obsolete fusion-powered ships being decommissioned in orbit, humanity's real vessels grew in hidden shipyards throughout the Kuiper Belt. Ships that weren't just controlled by human pilots, but were extensions of human consciousness itself. Director Wong, a voice called. Admiral Chen's avatar materialized beside him. The collective's oversight committee is conducting another inspection of lunar operations. They're particularly interested in the primitive mining facilities. Marcus smiled. The lunar facilities were another carefully crafted deception. While the collective observed humans using basic extraction techniques on the moon's surface, vast automated factories operated in quantum-shielded caverns below, producing technologies that would have shattered the collective's understanding of physics. Let them look, Marcus replied. Everything they see matches their expectations of a developing species. How's the integration coming with the new quantum cores? Better than we hoped. The collective's fundamental mistake was assuming consciousness could only exist in organic or artificial forms. They never imagined we could create a hybrid state, a quantum merger of human mind and machine. Every ship in our fleet isn't just a vessel. It's an extension of its pilot's consciousness. Marcus turned to another display, showing the training facilities scattered throughout the solar system, hidden in dimensional pockets the collective couldn't detect. Thousands of pilots learning to extend their consciousness through quantum networks, becoming one with their ships. Engineers developing weapons that operated outside normal spacetime. Scientists pushing the boundaries of what the collective believed possible. And Project Oracle? Marcus asked. Admiral Chen's avatar gestured, bringing up a new set of displays. Complete. The quantum eye has analyzed every scrap of data we have on collective technology. Their entire civilization is built on predictable patterns, mathematical certainties. They'd forgotten how to innovate, how to think beyond their established frameworks. That was humanity's true advantage. While the collective saw human emotions as a weakness, they had become our greatest strength. The quantum integration technology worked precisely because of human consciousness's chaotic, emotional nature. Where collective ships required millions of lines of code to make decisions, human pilots could react instinctively. Their emotions and intuition transferred instantly through the quantum network. Message from Melina, the facility AI announced. The collective's High Council is demanding accelerated implementation of their emotional optimization program. They're concerned about continued signs of human irrationality and unpredictability. Marcus couldn't help but laugh. The collective's insistence on fixing humanity's emotional nature had only confirmed their fundamental misunderstanding of what made humans unique. They saw our capacity for fear, anger, and love as evolutionary holdovers. They didn't understand that these emotions, combined with our intelligence and adaptability, had driven every major breakthrough in human history. "Show me the latest simulation results," Marcus commanded. The quantum displays shifted again, revealing the outcome of thousands of combat scenarios. The collected ships, for all their advanced technology, followed predictable patterns. Their tactics were mathematically perfect and utterly vulnerable to the chaos and inspiration of human consciousness merged with quantum technology. "Sir," his assistant AI interrupted, "we're detecting increased activity in the collective's fleet. They're repositioning ships around Jupiter's moons." Marcus nodded grimly. The collective had discovered some of the decoy facilities they'd planted, obsolete technology that suggested humanity might be secretly developing banned weapons. It was another layer of deception, letting them find exactly what they expected to find. "Alert Alina," he ordered. "Tell her Phase 2 is complete. Every ship in our real fleet is quantum integrated and ready. Every pilot is trained. Every weapon is tested. If the collective makes their move, we're ready to show them what humanity is truly capable of." As the message was sent, Marcus watched the quantum displays tracking the collected ships. They moved with perfect precision, their formations mathematically flawless. They had no idea they were being observed through dimensions they couldn't detect, their every movement analyzed by humans who had transcended their understanding of what was possible. The collective thought they were monitoring a primitive species struggling to advance beyond its emotional limitations. Instead, they were watching a carefully crafted performance, while beneath the surface, humanity had evolved into something unprecedented. A civilization that had merged the chaos of human consciousness with the precision of quantum technology. Soon, very soon, the collective would learn the price of their arrogance, and humanity would reveal that our greatest perceived weakness, our unpredictable, emotional nature, was about to become our greatest weapon in the fight for our independence and our very way of life. The silent preparation was complete. The next move belonged to the collective. The breaking point. The attack came without warning. The collected ships appeared above Europa, one of humanity's oldest primitive colonies, their weapons charged. The official declaration followed seconds later. The discovery of prohibited research facilities had forced the collective to take direct action to protect the galaxy from humanity's dangerous instabilities. In her command center beneath Geneva, Alina Santos watched the quantum feeds with cold fury. The collective had found exactly what they were meant to find: outdated prototype labs that suggested humanity might be decades away from developing basic quantum technology. Their response was exactly what humanity had predicted: swift, overwhelming force to correct a wayward species. "They've opened fire on Europa Station," Admiral Chen reported, his quantum projected form showing none of the usual holographic delays. 3,000 civilians in the complex. Alina's hands tightened on her command chair. Casualties. A slight smile crossed Chen's face. 0. The moment their weapons fired, Project Oracle activated. Every civilian in that station vanished through quantum corridors they can't detect. The collective is currently bombarding empty buildings and wondering why they're not detecting any life sign terminations. Status of the fleet. All ships at quantum ready. Pilots merge with their vessels, waiting for your command. The collective still hasn't detected any of our real technology. Their sensors are just registering thousands of primitive fusion ships powering up across the solar system. Exactly what they expect to see. Elena took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Humanity had spent years preparing for this moment, knowing the collective would eventually force a confrontation. Everything. The deceptions, the hidden technology, the quantum evolution of human consciousness had led to this point. "Send the signal," she ordered. "Show them what humanity really is." Across the solar system, reality seemed to twist. Ships that hadn't existed a moment before emerged from quantum space, their hulls gleaming with technology the collective had deemed impossible. But these weren't just vessels. They were extensions of human consciousness, crewed by pilots whose minds had merged with quantum systems in ways the collective couldn't comprehend. In orbit around Europa, the collective fleet suddenly found themselves facing opponents that seemed to break every rule they understood. Human ships moved with impossible precision, not through programmed algorithms, but through the intuition and emotional responses of their pilot minds. Weapons fired through dimensions the collective couldn't detect, guided by human consciousness operating outside normal spacetime. Message from the collective high command, Elena's AI reported. They're confused. Their universal translators are struggling to process their reaction. On the quantum screens, Elena watched as humanity's true fleet engaged the collective's ships. Where the aliens expected mathematical precision and predictable tactics, they encountered the chaos and creativity of human consciousness amplified by quantum technology. Every human vessel moved like a living thing. Each pilot's emotional responses and intuitive decisions transmitted instantly through quantum networks. "They're trying to retreat from Europa," Admiral Chen reported, a note of satisfaction in his voice. "Their tactical computers can't establish viable combat solutions against our quantum-integrated ships. They're facing human intuition operating at quantum speeds, something their algorithms can't predict." The collective's response came minutes later, broadcast across all frequencies. "This is impossible. Your species cannot possess this level of advancement. Our calculations..." Elena cut into their transmission. "Your calculations were based on what you expected to see. You looked at human emotions as a weakness to be corrected, never understanding that they are the source of our greatest strengths. You thought you were monitoring a primitive species, but you were watching a performance designed to tell you exactly what you wanted to believe." On the quantum displays, more of humanity's true fleet emerged. Ships piloted by minds that had transcended normal human limitations, guided by emotions and instincts that the collective's logical systems couldn't anticipate. Weapons that operated through quantum principles the collective had never imagined, developed by scientists who dared to think beyond established possibilities. "You demanded we suppress our emotions," Elena continued, her voice carrying across space to every collective ship. "You wanted to remake us in your image, logical, predictable, safe. But human emotions drove us to surpass every limitation you thought you understood. Our fear of subjugation drove us to develop defenses you couldn't detect. Our anger at your condescension pushed us to prove you wrong. Our love for our way of life gave us the strength to risk everything in preparation for this moment." The collective's fleet hung motionless in space, their perfect formations now broken, their tactical computers overwhelmed by opponents that defied their understanding of what was possible. They faced human vessels that moved with both the precision of quantum technology and the unpredictable creativity of emotional beings, a combination they had never imagined could exist. "We are not the primitive species you thought we were," Elena declared. "We are humanity. We feel deeply, love fiercely, and fight with everything we have when threatened. And now you face a choice. recognize us as equals and leave our system, or learn exactly what humanity is capable of when pushed too far. The quantum screens showed the collected ships in disarray, their perfect tactical formations shattered by the revelation of humanity's true capabilities. They had expected to find a primitive fleet of fusion-powered vessels. Instead, they faced the full power of human consciousness merged with quantum technology, emotional beings whose very unpredictability had become their greatest weapon. The breaking point had arrived. Now the collective would have to decide: adapt to a reality that defied their expectations, or face the consequences of underestimating humanity's potential. Their response would determine whether this day ended in a new understanding between species, or in a demonstration of just how dangerous humanity could be when forced to defend everything they held dear. Turning the tides. The collective's response came in waves. First, their elite battle groups emerged from hyperspace, massive ships guided by their most advanced AIs, each one supposedly capable of subduing an entire planetary system. Under normal circumstances, their arrival would have marked the end of any resistance. These were not normal circumstances. Dr. Marcus Wong stood in the Quantum Command Center, watching as humanity's true capabilities unfolded across the solar system. "Show me the neural integration stats," he ordered. The quantum displays shifted, revealing streams of data from thousands of human pilots merged with their vessels. Their emotional states, far from being a hindrance, had become a force multiplier. Fear sharpened their reactions. Determination strengthened their resolve. Anger focused their strikes. Love for what they protected made them unbeatable. "The Collective's flagship is attempting to establish a dialogue," his AI reported. "Their language contains significant stress markers. They're struggling to process what they're seeing." On the main display, a human quantum ship executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. Its pilot, mind-merged with quantum systems, didn't just predict where enemy fire would be. She felt it, intuited it, her emotional responses operating at quantum speeds. The massive collective vessel, for all its computational power, couldn't land a single hit on what seemed to be a ghost in space. "Their tactical computers are failing," Admiral Chen's quantum projection reported, appearing beside Marcus. "They're based on probability matrices, prediction algorithms, but they can't predict what we've become. Human consciousness operating through quantum networks doesn't follow their mathematical models." The battle unfolded across the solar system like a dance. Where the collected ships moved with mathematical precision, human vessels flowed like water, like thought itself. Each pilot's consciousness extended through quantum fields, turning their ships into extensions of their very being. They didn't just fight with technology. They fought with intuition, with emotion, with the full spectrum of human experience accelerated to quantum speeds. "They're attempting to adapt," Marcus noted, watching the collective's formation shift. "Their AIs are trying to learn from our movements. But they can't." Elena's voice came through the quantum link. "They're trying to find patterns in chaos, logic in emotion. They don't understand that every human pilot is fighting differently, guided by their unique experiences, their personal emotions, their individual intuitions." The quantum screen showed the truth of her words. Each human ship moved in ways that defied prediction, their pilot's consciousness flowing through quantum fields in patterns as unique as fingerprints. Where the collective expected uniformity, they found infinite variation. Where they looked for logical sequences, they encountered emotional responses that their computers couldn't anticipate. Then came humanity's masterstroke. "Initialize the quantum resonance network," Elena commanded. Marcus watched as the true extent of human advancement revealed itself. Quantum corridors opened across space, connecting pilot to pilot, ship to ship, not through cold logic or mathematical algorithms, but through shared emotion, shared purpose, shared humanity. Each pilot's consciousness touched others through the quantum field, creating a symphony of human experience that operated outside the collective's understanding of reality. By all that exists, the collective's transmission carried traces of what could only be awe. "What have you become?" Elena's response echoed through space. We've become what you thought impossible, a species that embraces both chaos and order, emotion and logic, individual spirit and collective purpose. We are humanity evolved, not by suppressing what makes us unique, but by embracing it fully. The battle shifted again. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, yet with complete unpredictability. Each pilot's emotions and instincts flowed through the quantum network, creating strategies that emerged from both individual creativity and collective purpose. The collective's massive fleet, for all its technological might, found itself facing an opponent that seemed to operate outside the very laws of nature as they understood them. Their flagship is powering down weapons, Admiral Chen reported. The entire fleet is falling back. Their tactical computers have reached a startling conclusion. They cannot win against what they cannot predict or understand. Marcus watched as the collective's mighty armada, which had subjugated 17,000 species across 12 galaxies, retreated before the power of human consciousness unleashed through quantum technology. They had come expecting to find primitive vessels guided by emotional beings they considered inferior. Instead, they found themselves facing the next step in conscious evolution. Humanity transformed, but not diminished. Send the final message, Elena ordered. Marcus nodded, activating the quantum broadcast that would reach every collective vessel. You came to our system believing you would find a species in need of correction, of guidance, of emotional suppression. Instead, you found humanity in its truest form, beings who feel deeply, think boldly, and fight with everything we are when threatened. We offered you peace as equals. You chose conflict. Remember this moment, when you learned that the greatest power in the universe isn't perfect logic or advanced technology. It's the infinite potential of conscious beings who embrace both their strengths and their supposed weaknesses. The quantum screens showed the collective's fleet in full retreat, their perfect formations shattered, their understanding of reality shaken to its core. They had come to teach humanity a lesson about the superiority of logic over emotion. Instead, they learned that their greatest mistake was believing these things had to be in opposition. The tides had turned, not just in this battle, but in the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. Humanity had proven that the path forward wasn't in suppressing what made us unique, but in embracing it fully, allowing it to evolve in ways no one had imagined possible. The age of the collective's unquestioned dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun. A new understanding. 1 year after the Battle of Europa, the Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly looked very different from the austere chamber the collective had maintained for millennia. Where once cold geometric patterns dominated, now a quantum organic architecture blended the mathematical precision of advanced technology with the flowing creativity of human design. Elena Santos stood at the center of the hall, her consciousness simultaneously present in both her physical form and the quantum network that now connected much of known space. Around her, representatives from thousands of species gathered, some physically, others through quantum projection, for what many were calling the dawn of a new era. The experiment has succeeded beyond our projections, she announced to the assembled beings. 97 species have now successfully integrated quantum consciousness technology with their natural cognitive patterns. Each adaptation is unique, shaped by the particular emotional and mental characteristics of the species involved. The collective's former High Commander, now serving as one of many equals on the new Galactic Council, stepped forward. His crystalline form had changed over the past year, becoming less rigidly geometric, more organic in its patterns. We were wrong, he acknowledged, his voice carrying harmonics of what humans would recognize as humility. For millennia, we sought to impose order through uniformity, believing that emotional capacity was a primitive trait to be overcome. Humanity showed us that true advancement lies not in suppressing diversity, but in embracing it. The quantum displays around the hall showed the transformation spreading across the galaxy. Species that had been forced to suppress their unique characteristics under collective rule were rediscovering their natural patterns while integrating advanced technology. The result wasn't chaos, as the collective had feared, but a new kind of order, one born from the harmony of diversity rather than the sterility of uniformity. Dr. Marcus Wong, now heading the Interspecies Quantum Integration Project, shared the latest findings. Each species brings its own cognitive patterns, emotional frameworks, and creative approaches to the quantum network. The combination has accelerated technological and social development beyond anything we imagined possible. The evidence was undeniable. Worlds that had stagnated under collective oversight were flourishing. The quantum network, originally developed by humans as a military necessity, had evolved into something far more profound, a medium through which different species could truly understand each other, sharing not just thoughts but experiences, emotions, and perspectives. The greatest irony, Elena reflected, is that in preparing to defend our humanity, we ended up finding a way to share it with the galaxy. The quantum screens shifted, showing scenes from across known space. Collective ships, once symbols of rigid authority, now served as centers of cultural exchange, their quantum cores allowing beings of different species to share experiences directly. Former military installations had been transformed into learning centers where species could explore their unique potential while contributing to the greater whole. But the greatest change, the High Commander added, has been in our understanding of consciousness itself. We thought we had reached the pinnacle of evolution through pure logic. Humanity showed us that consciousness is not a linear progression from emotion to logic, but a spectrum of infinite possibility. Elena nodded, feeling the quantum network pulse with the combined consciousness of billions of beings. The key was never in denying what makes each species unique, but in finding ways to share those unique perspectives. Human emotion, collective logic, and countless other modes of consciousness. Each adds its own color to the tapestry of galactic civilization. The assembly hall hummed with quantum energy as representatives shared their experiences through the network. Species that had once been forced to suppress their natural traits were discovering how their unique characteristics could contribute to the greater whole. The rigid hierarchy of the old collective had been replaced by a living network of diverse consciousness, each node adding its own perspective to the collective wisdom. And yet, Marcus observed, this is just the beginning. Every day, we discover new possibilities, new ways of thinking, new patterns of consciousness. The galaxy is learning what humanity has always known, that true strength lies not in conformity, but in the endless creativity that emerges from embracing our differences. The quantum displays showed the future unfolding, new technologies born from the combination of different thought patterns, new forms of art that blended multiple species' perceptions, new scientific discoveries made possible by combining diverse approaches to understanding reality. Elena stepped forward one last time, her consciousness resonating through the quantum network to reach every corner of known space. A year ago, we faced each other as adversaries, divided by our beliefs about what consciousness should be. Today, we stand together not because we have become the same, but because we have learned to celebrate our differences. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy, not our technology, but our understanding that the universe is vast enough for all forms of consciousness to flourish. The assembly hall filled with a harmony of response, emotional, logical, and everything in between. The age of enforced uniformity was over. The age of infinite diversity had begun. And humanity, once dismissed as too emotional, too chaotic, too unpredictable, had shown the galaxy that these very traits, when embraced rather than suppressed, could light the way to a future greater than any single species could have imagined alone. In the quantum network that connected them all, countless forms of consciousness pulsed with a shared understanding. The greatest strength of any civilization lies not in becoming uniform, but in learning to weave its differences into something greater than the sum of its parts. The story of humanity's stand against the collective would be remembered not as a tale of conflict, but as the moment when the galaxy learned that true evolution comes not from suppressing what makes each species unique, but from finding ways to share those unique gifts with all.